Merci. L'adoption de l'ordre du jour, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'adopter l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire du mardi 25 septembre 2022, tel que présenté.
Merci. La conseillère Yulin, je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci. La conseillère Torres, tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Merci. L'approbation des procès-verbaux.
Oui, je propose d'approuver les procès-verbaux des séances du conseil tenues aux dates suivantes. Séance ordinaire du 29 août 2022 et la séance spéciale du 15 septembre 2022.
Merci. La conseillère Torres, je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je l'appuie.
Merci. La conseillère Fini, tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Parfait, merci. La séance ordinaire, c'était le mois passé. Et la séance le 15 septembre était seulement pour déménager la date d'aujourd'hui. The special meeting for the 15th of September was just to approve the change from yesterday's date to today's date. We're going to move right to the report of the mayor. Alors, good evening everyone. Bonsoir à tous. Welcome to our regular council meeting. Bienvenue à notre réunion ordinaire du conseil. Bill 96 was voted into law on May 24th, 2022 and came into effect on June 1st. There are many problematic aspects to that law. As president of the ASM, I was able to present our brief to the committee studying Bill 96 in late September before adoption. Some of the questionable aspects deal with access to English CEGEPs by Francophone and Allophone students that may put the future of these institutions at risk. As well, there's a provision in that law that can cause a town to lose its bilingual status if the percentage of residents who describe themselves as mother tongue English falls below 50%. Our population in Montreal-Ouest is changing, but we're still far away from being in peril of losing our bilingual status. Minister Simon Jolet Barrette threw a bone into that law that allows the town to maintain its bilingual status simply by adopting a resolution to that effect. Some of the other demerged municipalities have already adopted such a resolution. But the ASM did receive a legal opinion from one predominant law firms in Quebec that stated clearly that a resolution to maintain bilingual status is only valid after the town has been advised by the OQLF that its bilingual status would be removed. In other words, all these resolutions already adopted are of no use right now. I just wanted to assure you that if we ever are advised that we could lose our bilingual status, we will immediately adopt a resolution to maintain it. La loi 96 a été votée le 24 mai 2022 et est entrée en vigueur le 1er juin. Cette loi comporte de nombreux aspects problématiques. En tant que président de l'AMB, j'ai pu présenter notre mémoire au comité d'études du projet de la loi 96 à la fin de septembre, avant son adoption. Certains de ces aspects douteux concernent l'accès des étudiants francophones et allophones au cégep anglais, ce qui peut mettre en péril l'avenir de ces institutions. De plus, une disposition de la loi peut faire perdre à une ville son statut bilingue si le pourcentage des résidents qui se disent de la langue maternelle anglaise tombe en dessous de 50%. Notre population change ici à Montréal-Ouest, mais nous sommes encore loin d'être en danger de perdre notre statut bilingue. Le ministre Simon Jolet Barrette a lancé une brèche dans la loi qui permet à une ville de maintenir son statut bilingue simplement en adoptant une résolution à cet effet. Je voulais seulement vous assurer que si jamais nous sommes informés que nous pourrions perdre notre statut bilingue, nous adopterons immédiatement une résolution pour le maintenir. Just a little bit an update on the Sports and Rec Center. The residents that have been firmly entrenched against the project are becoming vocal again. I believe we're at the point where we must move forward, of course, with a transparent and gated process that includes good governance and due diligence. Consider the alternative. The existing arena is months, not years away from needing to be shuttered. If we don't plan a replacement, we'll be left with an arena which will lead to a decrease in services for our residents and a decrease in the value of our properties. In fact, our community center itself is in dire need of investment as well, strictly because of the short-sighted planning in the past that has left our town with a huge deficit in necessary investments in infrastructure. Since my time on council, we've made some serious investments of over $30 million in our building and recreational infrastructure to try and nibble away at the long-standing deficits in investment. We have made these investments while keeping our debt at a reasonable level and even managing to accumulate a surplus. I'm confident that the town's good record of sound financial management and fiscal rigor for these past investments will continue for our future ones. This town, this community needs this project to go forward. It is a generational project that will ensure that we continue to thrive, continue to be a place where young families want to settle, and continue to renew our community. Of course, that doesn't mean that's a fait accompli. We will need to see the final plans to develop the final construction and operational budget before we issue a call for tender. The call for tender must also yield an acceptable bidder. Yes, the council and I continue to be excited by this prospect, but rest assured that the project will continue to be reviewed and assessed as a viable, responsible option for all. The Montreal-West Westward Rotary Club is hosting a candidates debate this Friday, the 23rd at 6:30 upstairs in the Assembly Hall. I've been asked to moderate the debate. I hope you find the time to attend and hear the different candidates' takes on important issues in the election. Le Club Rotary de Montréal-Westward présente un débat des candidats ce vendredi, le 23 septembre, à 18h30 à l'étage en haut. On m'a demandé de modérer le débat. J'espère que vous trouverez le temps d'y assister pour entendre les différents candidats s'exprimer sur les questions importantes de cette élection. Please continue to stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay healthy. Now we're going to move on to councilors' reports. We're going to start on seat number 4 for matters pertaining to urban planning. Councillor Maria Torres.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome. Bonsoir à tous. Today my report is extra short. I know Mayor would be very happy.
I have my glasses though.
Only 18 permits were issued from August 24th to date. Most of the permits included modifications to residences. In addition, no notices or tickets were issued. After a very busy season, this is welcome because one of the things that we do have to catch up and do as much as we can is the number of building inspections. So the fact that we're not getting as much demand for the permits, it gave the department a lot of time to continue their building inspections. During the above-mentioned period, the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, met twice and reviewed a total of 23 files. The next PAC meeting will be held on October 5th. The deadline to submit complete files to PAC is 2 weeks prior to the meetings. La prochaine réunion du comité consultatif d'urbanisme aura lieu le 5 octobre. Les dates limites pour soumettre les dossiers complets au CCU sont 2 semaines avant la réunion. J'aimerais vous rappeler que toutes les demandes de permis et autres autorisations doivent se faire via le site web de la ville, où vous trouverez également tous les renseignements nécessaires liés aux demandes, y compris les dates et formulaires importants. In addition to the website, you can always call Agatha Pelarchio at the Urban Planning Department if you have any questions or need to apply for a permit. And last, I would like to remind you that now you can all pay for permits by e-transfers via your bank. Si vous avez des questions ou des commentaires, n'hésitez pas à me contacter à mtorres à commercial montreal-west.ca. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Merci à tous et bonne soirée.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres. Reporting from seat number 1 on matters pertaining to public security, Councillor Lauren Small-Pennefather.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also have an equally short report this evening. So I'd like to start with in September, of course, was the rentrée scolaire for 3 schools in the municipality, Elizabeth Ballantyne, Edinburgh, and Royal West. And of course, our public security officers continue to work with the community with regards to parking. Donc, pour la rentrée scolaire, on a 3 écoles dans notre municipalité. Donc, nos agents de sécurité continuent de travailler avec les communautés pour il y a de reconnaissance par rapport à nos zones scolaires et aussi les réglementations de stationnement. In addition to that, PSOs will continue to check on private landscapers and gardeners with regards to leaf blowers and making sure that our PSGists are adequately permitted in the municipality. As you're aware, in the town, you must have a permit to be able to do landscaping. Donc pour les PSGistes, on continue de vérifier avec les PSGistes qu'ils ont des permis requis pour travailler dans les municipalités de la ville de Montréal-Ouest. And with regards to the leaf blower usage, the period will now be from November 1st until November 30th. Donc, pour utiliser les souffleuses, ça serait entre le 1er et 30 novembre. In addition to that, our officers are continuing to verify and patrol with regards to building permits, which is really important that people have the appropriate permits to be doing work on their homes. And in addition to that, on va préparer pour notre système de code rouge. Donc, c'est une notification d'urgence pour la ville de Montréal-Ouest qui aura lieu ce vendredi le 23 vers 5 heures pour Lactalis, qui était Parlement avant. And with regards to SPVM crime rates, we don't have our stats as of last year, so we're hoping that we'll get those shortly from the SPVM. Also wanted to mention again that there have been 2 thefts that have been recorded with regards to contents that have been left in vehicles. So this is just a reminder to please remember not to leave anything inside of your vehicles. Even though we know a lot of the thieves are very sophisticated and they have ways in which they can access your vehicles, even if they are locked, please make sure that you don't have any contents that can be stolen. Donc, juste un petit rappel d'éviter à laisser des effets personnels dans les voitures, parce qu'il y a encore des vols par rapport à des choses qui sont laissées à l'intérieur des voitures. And with regards to that, we had 2 calls as well with regards to PSOs. One was with regards to an individual that was approached and seemed to be in distress. The police were called and assisted with the individual. And again, there was a resident who was a senior that appeared to have fallen down, but it appears that the person had an issue with dementia. And again, the police were called in conjunction with the town of Montreal-Ouest, and the person was transported for medical care. And just want to recall again that we do have that emergency code red system that's going to be in effect. Don't forget, people sometimes get very alarmed. If they hear an alarm, it usually lasts for about 3 minutes. Again, that's taking place this Friday on the 23rd between 5 and 5:10. Sometimes you can hear it depending on where you are in the town. Other places you can't hear because of winds and other frequencies going on. Donc, juste un petit rappel encore, le 23, ce vendredi, il y aura une alarme d'urgence entre 5h et 5h10 le soir pendant 3 minutes. So that will be it for the public security report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Small-Pennefather. And now we go from the short reports on my right to the long reports on my left. Reporting from seat number 2, Councillor Elizabeth Yulin on matters pertaining to public works, communications.
You're
and the
having too much
environment.
fun.
Yeah.
This is not supposed to be fun. Okay, so I'll start with Public Works. Public Works team continued working on road infrastructure, and street signs around town were cleaned and replaced as needed. Public Works has started the process of removing seasonal signage and will begin the removal of flowers on Westminster and in the parks at the end of the month. The winterization of the Public Works fleet and the annual green space cleanup will also begin shortly. We're developing a rebate program similar to those in other island municipalities for residents who may have lead pipes on the town side furnishing their water. This rebate will be for the purchase of various water filter systems residents can use to mitigate this potential health risk. We're developing the program now and will provide more information on the web and in the e-bulletin later this fall. Moving on to the environmental department. La plantation des arbres d'automne est en cours et les arbres seront plantés entre la dernière semaine de septembre et le début d'octobre. Si votre propriété a été désignée comme lieu de plantation, vous avez reçu une lettre du service vous donnant un choix de 3 arbres et expliquant les processus. The free-for-all weekend was held September 17th and 18th, along with a Westminster Street Fair, and it was a big success as a lot of used items have now found new homes. And tonight, the nuisance bylaw is on the agenda to be amended to prohibit gas-powered leaf blowers. This amendment will come into force on November 1st, 2023, giving landscapers and residents plenty of time to switch to electric models if they want to continue using the machines. A monarch-friendly city tab will be launched on the town's website at the end of the month, letting residents know how they can help these essential pollinators survive and thrive in our community. And finally, our waste management sensitization campaign will launch in October by adding educational resources on the website, hosting events, and implementing some lead-by-example projects in town offices. All this will lead up to a restructuring of our town garbage collection protocol in 2023. Like many other island municipalities, we're looking at putting some restrictions or limitations on the ways in which residents and commercial enterprises can send their garbage to landfill. This may entail limiting households to a maximum of one 240-liter bin and prohibiting additional garbage bags, boxes, and loose items from being put out on garbage day. Public Works would still provide a bulk items pickup service by appointment if you have large items to dispose of, but in the regular garbage pickup, all items would have to fit into your bin. Of course, our recycling and composting pickups would remain a great option for diverting most of our waste from landfill. So by using these other methods at home, the quantity of garbage we generate should naturally be minimized. We'll provide a lot more information on this in the coming days as we discuss the matter further. So that's all there is for me. If you have any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them during the second question period. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin. And reporting from seat number 3 on matters pertaining to finance, recreation, and topics related to the status of age-friendly municipality, Councillor Colleen Feeney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Bonsoir. I will try to be fast, but no promises. I'll start with finance. I remind you that the deadline for sending in your water meter readings is September the 26th. So to avoid a $50 estimate fee, the readings should be sent in as soon as possible, and invoices will be sent out on October the 25th. On September 15th, we had the AGM for the pension plan, and that was where the 2021 financial statements, which were approved by the pension committee, were presented. L'Hôtel de Ville sera fermé le lundi 10 octobre pour le jour de l'Action de Grâce. In the disbursements, as you'll see later in this meeting, in the past 3 weeks, the town has disbursed $301,659. I'd always like to give you an idea of where your money has gone. In this past time, the main expenditures were $95,000 for architects and their team for the new Sports and Recreation Centre, $74,000 for deductions at source and benefits, $31,000 for the rec department, and that includes some of their programs, the tying up of the day camp, pool, getting the arena ready, etc. And $19,000 for tree services, cutting, trimming, and other such things. All right, continuing on finance. You probably have read in the newspaper about this new property assessment role. Every 3 years, the City of Montreal, and I have to be clear, it's the City of Montreal, not the town of Montreal-West, which develops a new property assessment role. This one was deposited on September the 14th by the City of Montreal, and it will come in effect January 1st, 2023, and it will be in effect for the taxation years 2023, 2024, and 2025. In terms of valuation increases in Montreal-West, the average increase for residential was 40.3%. Overall, it was 41.1%, I believe, but for the residential, it was 40.3%. And the increase for the Aglo, Montreal, and the demerger towns for the residential was 32.4%. So on the positive side, the valuations indicate that Montreal-West is still a very desirable place to live, with valuations increasing above the average of Montreal. However, some residents have expressed concern as to how this will affect their taxes. I just want to say you can rest assured that a 40% valuation increase does not mean that your property tax will increase by the same amount. Your property tax is a result of two factors: the mill rate, which is charged as per $100 valuation on your property, multiplied by the valuation. So when property values go up substantially, the mill rate is adjusted down to help offset the increase. You can find your new evaluation by consulting ville.montreal.qc.ca, and a link is also on the Montreal-Ouest website. If, after consultation, you think your property valuation is incorrect or does not reflect reality, you may contest it. The deadline for that is April 30th, 2023. And I'll write more about this in my communiqué, in an upcoming communiqué in the Informer. But I just thought I'd let you know because I know people are talking about it. It's been in the news. Le nouveau rôle d'évaluation a été déposé le 14 septembre 2022 et entre en vigueur le 1er janvier 2023. On y trouve la valeur d'un immeuble donné à un moment déterminé basé sur le prix de vente de propriétés comparables et sur le coût de remplacement actuel sur le marché. Il s'appliquerait à vos comptes de 2023, 2024 et 2025. Votre avis d'évaluation vous sera expédié avec votre taxe de compte de 2023. Le rôle d'évaluation peut être consulté en ligne et à l'hôtel de ville. Okay, we'll move on to recreation now. We'll start with community center, and I'll try to be fast. Fall registration went well, and there are still some spots available, particularly in new programs, and they are Mom and Baby, Workout, Meditation, and Pilates. As well, there is some space left for a first aid course and a CPR course on November the 19th. The Red Cross Stay Safe program starts on October the 23rd and the Red Cross Babysitting on October the 22nd. In terms of special events, this past Saturday, September the 17th, was the Montreal-Ouest Street Fair. It was a great success. I want to thank everybody who attended, and a very special thank you to our merchants involved who basically organized a lot of this event. Also want to thank the team from Montreal-West, Public Works, Public Security, and Recreation who worked together and made it all possible. It was also an occasion where we were able to meet and greet new residents with a distribution of welcome baskets. Also in coming events, October 24th to 31st is Halloween, and it will include Halloween on Ice on October the 30th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. We invite you to take your Halloween costume for a skate and enjoy spooky music, treats, and fun on the ice. Il y aura une compétition pour décoration de résidence. Rassemblez la famille et lancez-vous dans la décoration. Entrez dans l'esprit de l'Halloween et donnez à vos maisons un air fantomatique. That's it. Also, coming events, Trash to Art, thanks to the Environmental Action Committee, is going to be the theme this coming month. You can submit your photos on the website, and the deadline is October the 31st at 10 p.m. And I know this is in advance, but just to let you know that Remembrance Day is a big time in Montreal-West. There will be many events running from November the 5th through to the 10th, with the actual celebration on the 6th of November. So this will involve walks and talks and the actual celebration. So keep those dates free. In terms of the arena, l'Arena, les préparatifs sont terminés pour la réouverture de l'Arena cette saison. L'ouverture pour la programmation et le patinage libre est le 24 septembre. Veuillez consulter le site web pour tous les détails et l'horaire. And the pool season closed the weekend of September 10th and 11th, and by all accounts was a very, very successful season. We received many thanks and compliments from residents about how safe they felt at the pool and how grateful they were to the staff and for their efforts. In turn, we would like to say thank you to all the participants for maintaining a fun and safe environment for everyone at the pool. And finally, seniors, the activities for the 50 Plus Club are continuing. They started up on August the 30th, and the next date is September 27th. The group is planning a trip to Upper Canada Playhouse on the 22nd of September, and also a plan to Ganawagi in October. And for the second year, friendly visits by McGill nursing students will provide weekly contact with seniors 65 plus in the community from October to December. 10 seniors have signed up for this. October 1st is National Day of Older Adults. We will pass along any information we have regarding events being planned at nearby locations. And we will be having a meeting of our MATA committee next week. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Merci.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. We're going to move right now to the first question period. So the first question period, we allocate 25 minutes. We'll take questions from the floor first, and then we'll answer questions that were submitted online. So I'm going to ask you to step up to the microphone, state your name and your address, and then please go ahead and ask your question.
Merci beaucoup. Daniel Bouleris, 204 Wolseley Nord. This is a follow-up to the bike path question last meeting. Mayor Masella, did you raise it with the AGLO since the last council meeting?
I actually have been in contact with the people that I need to. I had to find out the name of the people that I had to get in contact with. I have that name now, and I will at AGLO on Thursday, so that's when I'll come across these people.
Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah,
I was disheartened to hear you say last meeting it takes 5 to 8 years to.
That's exactly right, Mr. Bouleris. I'm not going to tell you differently. I know I'm just speaking from the experience that my colleagues have had in the other municipalities. Even after they get a project approved to add to the bicycle path map that's on the island, till it actually comes to fruition, 5 to 7 years. So.
That's so depressing. That shows a lack of leadership. You can tell by how long it takes things to move forward, whether people give lip service to it or if it's a real priority. And it seems for the AGLO, the environment and cyclist safety and pedestrian safety is not a priority. Next question. If we were to put an internal bike path in Montreal-West and it didn't touch any of the borders, do we still need AGLO approval?
I believe the answer is no, Mr. Bouleris. I think that if we keep bicycle paths internal, that we don't want to connect them or that we don't feel the need to have them part of the overall agglomeration bicycle path, I think we're allowed to do that. But between you and I, I'm not exactly sure that that's the most efficient use of what we can do. I think the idea of the bicycle paths is to be able to connect them. But we haven't even had like a full discussion of where we would want them, where they could go, or anything along those lines. I just know that we received a proposal probably about 5 years ago without any consultation from Montreal that they wanted to put a bicycle path on Westminster. And we said that makes absolutely no sense, one coming over the hump. And since then, it's been radio silence. So.
I agree that would have been a poor idea. When they proposed, that's my final question, when they proposed the Westminster one,
yes.
Did you propose other streets instead, like Ballantyne or Strathern?
No, and in fact, if I remember, and again, I'm going back a little bit on my memory, I think we said to them, well, no, that one doesn't work for us. Can we sit down and discuss? And that was the end of the conversation. I'm along the same lines as you, Mr. Bouleris, quite honestly. I think there's some valid choices, like Ballantyne, Brock, or Strathern on the other side, to go north-south. But it's something that needs to be looked at holistically, not just like, over one segment. Because if I look just as an example at Brock lets us connect to the fielding bike path, which is not a bad thing. It goes down the whole length. There's like some real options there that we haven't really ever worked on them internally to say, you know what, this is what we can go ahead with. We're still waiting for Montreal to see what they want to do. They came with one proposition, just made no sense to us.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bouleris. And I think that's it for the questions from the room. So we'll go to the questions that were submitted online today. They deal with anything that's, any questions really, not just what's on the agenda. First question came to us from Kevin Aladdin, 59 Courtney Drive. Is the Easton project on schedule? What is the completion date? And traffic in that area is a disaster. The contractor also seems to be able to do whatever they want, like they own that part of Westminster. What is the town doing to mitigate the traffic and keep the area safe for pedestrians? So the last update we had, Mr. Aladdin, was, I think it was the middle of July. They don't seem to be on time. The original completion date was the end of June 2023. So I don't believe that they're on that schedule still. In terms of the blocking traffic, they came to us with a request. They actually have to request anytime they want to block a public street. So they came to us with one request to be able to block Westminster for the whole day, starting at 7 o'clock in the morning till late in the afternoon. We said that wasn't acceptable. We said that they could only block it at that point between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, which is our least busy time frames on Westminster. But they said that they'll study it and come back with a different proposition. So I hope that answers your questions, Mr. Aladdin. Next question comes to us from Merle McPhail. Why are those green drums? There are two at a time now, one still littering the area around the train tracks. Who do they belong to? And they should be removed and the area cleaned up. And want to be green? When will there be solar panels installed on the roof of Town Hall? Nice and flat, no obstruction. I'm sure there are grants out there for such a project. Can we explore this idea? Councillor Yulin, maybe you can field the questions, please.
Sure. Thanks very much for your question, Merle. As far as the green drums, they are on CP property, and so unfortunately we cannot do anything about that. We can't remove them. They belong to CP, so I don't really know what more I can say about that. I agree that they're unsightly, but that's CP's domain. The possibility of having solar panels on the roof of the town hall, that's not something we've ever looked into, but it doesn't mean we can't do so. So I just thank you for your suggestion, and when we have an opportunity, we'll take that further and perhaps look into it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin, and thank you for your question, Merle McPhail. Next question from Mike Ely. Two questions regarding the vacant lots north and south of 151 Brock South, i.e. the condos on Montreal-West land at the corner of Ronald, and for traffic. One, there are lots, the lots are on Montreal-West land and eyesores, dangerous, ragweed, rocks, and garbage. Development has been complete for years, but temporary fencing weeds remain. They are not kept up at all. Can the city pressure and fine them? And two, the bigger issue is the developers of the Bellevue apartments were always supposed to have connected their underground parking with St. Anne de Bellevue Street, so their renters would not always have to both enter and exit on Ronald. Please help. So if I can ask Councillor Small-Pennefather to take the first question, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Ely, for your question. So with regards to the first part, you're correct. There is a bylaw that does exist with regards to fining owners for the presence of ragweed and garbage. Public security has been informed, and they will act accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Small-Pennefather. In terms of the second question, Mr. Ely, the idea is that they were building a third building. There's supposed to be a third phase to that project over there. That's the last that we had heard from the developers over there. That's in Côte-Neige Notre-Dame-de-Grâce. But we were told that there's a third phase, a third building that's supposed to go up. And after that third phase is up, that's when all the garages beneath the buildings will be connected. And you're right, that's when there's supposed to be an entrance off of St. Anne de Bellevue Boulevard, or across the street if you want from the U-Haul. So we're following up to see if there's any kind of a change in their planning or their timeline. Thank you very much for your questions, Mr. Ely. Next question comes from Adrien Labbé, 19 Chemin Garden. Bonsoir, mon conjoint Armand Javidi et moi, nous sommes des nouveaux arrivants à Montréal-Ouest et nous sommes enchantés de faire partie de la communauté. Notre question. En regardant le dépôt du nouveau rôle d'évaluation foncière, nous constatons que la valeur de notre propriété a augmenté de 49% d'évaluation précédente et nous sommes préoccupés. Doit-on s'attendre à une hausse de 49% de nos taxes municipales en 2023? La réponse courte, Madame Labbé, c'est non. Comme la conseillère Fini a dit tout à l'heure, même si l'évaluation augmente, et vous avez une augmentation assez importante de 49%, mais nous avons besoin de le même montant pour gérer la ville, si vous voulez. Alors, si les évaluations ont augmenté, ce qu'on fait d'habitude, c'est baisser le taux, de mill rate, si vous voulez. Comme ça, ça nous génère le même montant d'argent pour faire fonctionner la ville. Ça, c'est disant que le budget ne change pas, mais nous avons toujours les pressions de l'agglomération et les taux d'inflation. Mais non, je pense que vous pouvez rester inquiète sans souci qu'il n'y aura pas une augmentation de 49% de votre taxe foncière. Merci pour votre question, Andréane Labbé. Next question comes from Kevin Brothaler, 27 Ballantyne North. Dear Council, it was nice to visit the street fair last weekend. Thank you for your part in organizing that. I'm wondering if the town has given some thought to adopting a farmer market type of event every weekend, closing the street for a couple of hours on Sundays, for example. This could give the local merchants a much needed boost while letting us all enjoy the main street without dealing with the noise and traffic. I've seen this done in another town, and it's always nice, at least during the warm months. Thank you. No, Mr. Brothauer, we've never really considered that, quite honestly. The street fair, I'm trying to remember where the idea came from. It is something that's organized by the street merchants and such. The town gives them a lot of support logistically and with the help of our public works, public security, and our recreation department. But that's something that they've kind of taken over, and that's something that they're running. So I'm not exactly sure that they would be open to closing Westminster every week, or maybe it's just a couple of weeks, or maybe it's something that can be done a little bit more frequently. So I will take the suggestion and I'll pass it along to the Merchants Association and see if they want to come up with some kind of proposals that then can come to council that we can discuss. But no, it's never something that we've discussed on council before. So thank you very much for your question, Mr. Brothauer. Next question comes from Santino Testani, 265 Westminster North. Hello, does Montreal West plan on adding additional electric charging stations for electrical vehicles in the near future? Unfortunately, in the near future, no, I can't say it's in the near future, Mr. Testani. Our next one planned would be at the new recreation center. There will be a couple of charging spots there. Eventually, I'm hoping there'll be one here at Town Hall, but that's a little bit further down the road. So the next one up would be when the new recreation center gets built. Thank you very much for your question, Mr. Testani. Next question comes from Ian Robinson, 143 Ballantyne North. During this time of record high interest rates, highest since 2014, and predicted to have 2 more hikes, and record high inflation, highest since 1980s, both of which will adversely affect the financial viability of the arena complex and directly impact property taxes for decades, would council consider either modifying, delaying, or even outright canceling the project? Councillor Feeney, can you handle the question, please?
Okay. Yes, thank you very much for your question, Ian. As the Mayor had mentioned at the beginning of his report this year, this is something that Council is certainly always looking at. We know that there is potential price increases for the new Sports and Recreation Centre. And as he had mentioned, we are taking this one step at a time. We're going to see how the final numbers come in when the final architect plans are in, and if everything is looking good, then we will move forward to go to tender. But even at that stage in the game, if we get numbers that are coming in that just seem very unreasonable, yes, council will certainly take this into consideration. We'll look to see if there has to be delayed, postponed, or whatever. We hope we wouldn't have to cancel it. But as the Mayor had said, we want to make sure that this is a viable option for everyone. So we're definitely keeping aware of this, and we know the taxpayers' wishes as well. So thank you very much for your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. And just to add to that, you mentioned, Mr. Robinson, you mentioned modifying, which is something that we're always looking at to try and keep the cost something reasonable. But delaying is the same thing as canceling the project. The funding comes with a certain time frame that you have to complete the project in, so delaying it does equate to canceling the project. And it's hard to just walk away from a $12.5 million grant. Next question comes from Ellen Moore. Ellen Moore asked 3 questions, 2 of which we've answered, I would say, probably about 5 times already, so I'm not even going to read those questions. One question that she does bring up: will you consider another way of helping the library, a larger financial help to rent a larger space or help with purchasing a proper building? The short answer, Ellen Moore, is that we've already helped the library. We provide them a generous grant every year, and this year we've signed on with them to help them get a grant of $25,000? A $25,000 grant from one of the levels of government. So that's how we're helping the library already. Are they going to be able to purchase a building? That's up to them. They're an independent organization. We just provide some funding to them. So that's to answer your question, Ellen Moore, 122 Percival Avenue. Next question comes from Charles Leblanc. When will the pedestrian crossing light on Westminster at Broughton be fixed? This question was posed a year ago by my wife, and no action has been taken. Thanks for the update. That's Charles Leblanc, 25 Ballantyne South. Councillor Small-Pennyfather, if I could ask you to answer.
Sure. Thank you for your question, Mr. Leblanc. So the piece actually has been ordered by the supplier, and we're still waiting for that piece to be delivered. And in the interim, we are looking for another supplier because we do recognize that it has been quite a substantial amount of time. So we are looking for another supplier that can provide that specific piece that is missing from that intersection. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Small Pennefather, and thank you for your question, Charles Leblanc. And the last question comes from Jim Mullally, 112 Broughton. I've had 2 incidents of almost being hit at the Sherbrooke-Westminster crossing by cars headed north, and was hit by a car 5 years ago at the Westminster, I'm assuming it's Harley crosswalk, also by a car heading north. In all cases, it was because the car in the far left lane did not see me. I suggest that the lanes be restricted to 1 at both locations. Councillor Small Pennefather again, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your question, Mr. Mullally. So with regards to your specific question and the crosswalk, so we do, of course, have traffic engineers that do evaluate these particular circumstances around various risk mitigation strategies that could be adopted by the town. And in this particular circumstances, we don't have an alternative that can be proposed. As you are aware, because of the train crossing, that traffic is quite congested in that area already, and to reduce that to 1 lane could increase the danger. So we're continue to look at various ways, but of course the ultimate solution would be for CP to ensure that there doesn't have to be an overground across Westminster and Sherbrooke. So hopefully, CP will continue to address that issue, and hopefully we'll have a longer-term solution. But thank you for your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Small Pennefather, and thank you for your question, Mr. Mullally. That's the end of the first question period. We're going to move on to the contracts in the town clerk's office. Approval request for a grant agreement with Heritage Canada. So normally, whenever we get a grant from a different level of government, one of the other levels of government, if it's from the federal government, it needs to have a resolution approving it so that the provincial government will allow it. For most grants where the provincial and federal government work together, there are already these kind of ententes already in line, but this particular grant was a small one-off, so we need to pass this resolution.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Mayor. Whereas the Town Council, by virtue of Resolution number 2021-1213-012, applied to the Department of Canadian Heritage for a grant of $5,000 for a community project celebrating the Platinum Jubilee of Her Majesty the late Queen Elizabeth II. Whereas a legal requirement for any subsidy from the federal government to a municipality in Quebec is to be approved by the provincial government. Whereas a draft agreement has been prepared to sum up this file, therefore I move, first, that the Town of Montreal-West accept the terms and conditions of the grant agreement, which was submitted to Council for the purposes of the project quoted in the preamble of this resolution. 2, that the Town request the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing to obtain the necessary approval of this agreement. And 3, that the Director of Recreation and Culture Services be authorized to sign the said agreement once the approval has been obtained.
Thank you very much, Councillor Feeney. Can I have a seconder, please?
I second that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yulin. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Committee on Access to Information. Let me go back a second here. The activity that was planned and that we received the grant for already took place. This was, I think it took place this year?
Yes, it did.
This year,
yeah.
okay, it took place this year. So this is kind of just retroactively dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Committee on Access to Information and the Protection of Personal Information.
Yes, whereas an act to modernize legislative provisions as regards the protection of personal information, SQ Chapter 25, has been enacted on September 22nd, 2021. Whereas the purpose of this new law is to structure the protection of personal information in both the public and private sectors. Whereas its various provisions are to come into effect over a period of 3 years after its enactment. Whereas one of the first obligations that the public body must fulfill is the creation of a committee which is tasked with supporting the said body in the exercise of its responsibilities and the performance of its obligations regarding access to documents and protection of personal information. Whereas the town administration is recommending to set up a committee whose members will be, in addition to the town clerk, managers from those departments where personal information is collected. I move that the town of Montreal-West create a committee on access to information and the protection of personal information made up of 4 members: the town clerk, the assistant treasurer, the recreation supervisor, and the urban planning manager. And secondly, that the town clerk be appointed to chair this committee as the responsible person for access to documents and the protection of personal information.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yulin, can I have a seconder, please?
Yes, I second it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Torres. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. 10, Administration and Finances. 10A, Approval of Disbursements for the period August 27 to September 19, 2022.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that the list of accounts payable from August 27th to September 19th, 2022, totaling $301,659.51, be approved and paid as listed.
Thank you very much. Councillor Feeney, can I have a seconder, please?
I second that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yulin, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Délégation de pouvoir pour le mois de septembre 2022.
Oui, Monsieur le maire, je propose d'approuver le rapport de la directrice générale par intérim concernant l'exercice des pouvoirs délégués en vertu du règlement numéro 2005-002 pour le mois de septembre 2022.
Merci, la conseillère Yulin. Je peux avoir de l'appui, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Feeney. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Merci. On to Urban Department, Site Planning Projects and Architectural Integration Program, SPAIP.
I move to acknowledge receipt of the minutes of a meeting held by the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, on September 14th, 2022. To approve as presented under the SPAIP the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 149 Percival, replacement of the front door. 102 Radcliffe, capping the front stairs and landing in pavers and modification to the lower landing and stairs. 110 Westminster North, installation of a skylight. 139 Brock South, replacement of 10 windows and 4 sills. Thirdly, to approve with conditions under the SPIP the following plans submitted to this meeting in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 337-339, replacement of the front door and painting of the wood trims around the door, the front door and window above. Fourthly, to defer the examination of the following plans to the next meeting of this council in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 123 Westminster North, replacement of the front door, window shutters, and construction of an extension on the second floor in the back. 57 Wolseley North, modification of the garage roof above the door of the new extension project. And 37 Milner, modification of the canopy above the front door. Fifth, to refuse the following plans in accordance with the recommendations of the PAC as outlined in the minutes. 124 Easton, replacement of windows, front door, garage door, cladding, soffits, fascia, and gutters.
Thank you very much. Councillor Torres, can I have a seconder, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I second the motion.
Thank you very much. Councillor Small-Pennefather, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Demande de délégation mineure 138 Brock North. Si je peux demander à la conseillère Torres de faire une petite mise à jour, s'il vous plaît, avant de proposer la résolution.
Yes, this property, 139 Brock North, have requested actually it comes to 3 minor exceptions, and it has to do with the lateral setbacks between their house and the next door property. As it stands right now, they exceed the amount of footage or space that is allowed under these norms. So it is worth notice that to mention that no changes have been made, and the reason of the request is because they have sold the house and they need to normalize the settings.
Alors, si je peux demander à quelqu'un de proposer la résolution, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je propose d'accepter les plans soumis à la réunion du comité consultatif d'urbanisme tenue le 24 août 2022, conformément aux dispositions des réglementations des règlements 2020-02 et G18-0005 et les demandes suivantes de la dérogation mineure à la grille de spécification applicable sous l'article 3.2.2 du règlement de zonage en ce qui traite à l'immeuble situé au 138 Brock Nord dans la zone RA-5 afin de régulariser la marge de recul latéral nord du bâtiment principal qui est le 0,94 mètres de lieu de minimum requis de 1,2 mètres dans cette zone, ceci ayant pour effet de réduire la norme de 0,26 mètres. Régulariser la marge de recul latéral sud du bâtiment principal qui est le 1,97 mètres au lieu de minimum requis de 2,8 mètres dans cette zone, ceci ayant pour effet de réduire la norme de 0,83 mètres. Régulariser la marge de recul latéral combinée de bâtiment principal qui est de 2,91 mètres au lieu de minimum requis de 4 mètres dans cette zone, ceci ayant pour effet de réduire la norme de 1,09 mètres.
Merci, la conseillère Sussman-Penny. Father, je peux avoir l'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, je l'appuie.
Merci, la conseillère Torres. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Oui.
Merci. Public Works Street Light Master Plan.
Yes, whereas in 2021, the town commissioned a plan directeur d'éclairage to gather information on industry lighting standards, norms, and best practices used in the context of different street lighting applications. Whereas the goal of this plan was also to evaluate the current state of the town's exterior lighting network in relation to these norms and standards, and to provide recommendations on how conformity can best be achieved in future. Whereas the town administration reviewed this plan, discussed it with council, and upon consideration of the comments made by elected officials, recommends its adoption. Therefore, I move that the plan directeur d'éclairage be prepared by Mr. Richard Lariviere be approved.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yulin, can I have a seconder, please?
I second it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Torres, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Circular Economy Month, October 2022.
Whereas for 20 years, Waste Reduction Week in Canada has focused on the concepts of waste reduction and recycling as a key component of transition to a circular economy. Whereas it is now believed that educating Canadians on this new model of consumption should involve more than just 1 week, I move first that the town of Montréal-Ouest join Canada's first circular economy public awareness campaign. Secondly, that the town thereby commit to waste reduction, resource conservation, and community education and sustainable living. And thirdly, that Mayor Benny Masala be authorized to sign a proclamation from this end.
Thank you.
This end, sorry.
Thank you very much. Councillor Torres, can I have a seconder, please?
I second that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yulin, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Garbage collection renewal, contract renewal, excuse me.
Whereas the current contract was awarded to WM Quebec Inc. by resolution number 2020-1008-004 for a period of 2 years ending December 31, 2022, with 2 renewal options of 1 year each. Whereas the tender document provides that the applicable price during the optional year is to be increased from the previous year following the Consumer Price Index, CPI, for Montreal in the preceding 12 months. Therefore, I move 1, that the contract for the collection and transportation of garbage on Fridays of RCI Environnement Inc. be extended for another year, starting January 1 and ending December 31st, 2023, for a price of $171,613.79 before taxes, to be indexed following the Montreal CPI. 2, that this expense be charged to budget code 02-420-00-491. Third, that the mayor and the town clerk be authorized to execute any contract and other documents required to implement this resolution as the case may be.
Mr. Mayor, this is garbage pickup on Fridays or
It
Thursdays?
should be on Thursdays. There's no,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be on Thursdays, right?
Yeah,
So
it
yeah,
should be
so let's
Thursday.
officially note that that's supposed to be on Thursdays, not on Fridays. Okay, and if I could have somebody second the motion, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I second the motion.
Thank you very much. Councillor Small-Pennefather and Councillor Feeney. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Thank you very much. On va s'en aller tout de suite au dépôt du document. Je dépose le document qui s'appelle le rapport annuel sur la gestion de l'eau potable pour le ministère des Affaires municipales et de l'Habitation. Ce document que la Ville devait présenter au ministère des Affaires municipales et de l'Habitation et qui a reçu l'approbation de celui-ci et est déposé avec le Conseil. Notice of motion, reading and adoption of bylaws, 16A, adoption of bylaw 456-9, bylaw amending bylaw number 456 concerning noise, nuisance, and public security.
Whereas a copy of this bylaw in draft version was previously tabled at a council meeting when the notice of motion was given and made available in accordance with the law. Whereas the purpose and scope of this bylaw were summed up at the present meeting. Therefore, I move that bylaw number 456-9 entitled Bylaw Amending Bylaw number 456 concerning nuisance, noise, and public security be adopted.
Thank you very much. Councillor Small-Pennefather, can I have a seconder, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I second that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Feeney, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Just to give everybody a quick précis, the amendment that we're making changes the dates for the leaf blower usage. Whereas we always used to allow 4 weeks, but they were the middle of October till the middle of November, and we were always passing resolutions to delay that. So what we've done now, and to simplify it, we're saying it's the whole month of November now. So I guess we're going from 28 to 30 days. But the bigger change is that starting
November 1st.
November 1st next year, gas blowers will not be allowed for private use. So in other words, if you're using a gas blower now, we're going to ask you to take the year now and find an electric alternative. I use a battery one and it works fine. And the same thing for the contractors, the landscaping contractors. They're going to also have a year to see what new options are out there, and there are plenty of options out there to replace their existing equipment. So those are the two main changes. Avis de motion et dépôt d'un projet de règlement pour règlement instituant un programme de remise sur les filtres d'eau. Je donne avis que avis de motion de la présentation à une prochaine séance de conseil de le règlement intitulé en haut. Un projet de règlement fut déposé au conseil et mis à la disposition du public. That's as Councillor Feeney, as Councillor Yulin was referring to in her report. We're going to be putting together a bylaw that for water filters for people that have lead water pipes on the city side. So there'll be a program that we're developing to help reimburse for some of those costs. Second question period. It only pertains to things that are on the agenda, and I don't have any questions that came in online, and there's nobody else in the room. So if I could have somebody move to close the meeting. We're at the end of the meeting. If I could have somebody move to close the meeting.
Oui, Monsieur Laberge, je propose de lever la séance.
Merci, la conseillère Feeney. L'appui, s'il vous plaît.
Je l'appuie, Monsieur le maire.
Merci, la conseillère Small-Pennefather. Tout en faveur, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Merci, tout le monde. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We're not in England, and listen, we have some connection with the Queen. At the very, very least, wherever side you sit on in terms of the monarchy or anything like that, I think at the very least there should be some respect paid for somebody who's worked for the public, for her people and the people all across the Commonwealth for over 70 years. So that's a fairly impressive feat, and I think at the very least the late Queen Elizabeth deserves respect for that accomplishment. She's worked very hard for her people in the United Kingdom, and she's worked very hard for the people all across the Commonwealth. So just a little editorial, as it were. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Merci d'avoir participé avec nous ce soir.